Welcome to The Confidence Conversation, hosted by Michelle Beatty. The Confidence Conversation is a series of rich dialogues and insights shared by a variety of professionals in different industries as they unpack their secrets to being confident while sharing the building blocks, career wisdom, and their entrepreneurial journeys. The Confidence Conversation is an expansion of the blog CareerTipper.com.
Episode 8 of The Confidence Conversation features Jeanette Johnson. Jeanette is fondly known as Jay, the founder of Jay's Everyday Fashion. Jay is a style blogger with over 100,000 followers that is on a mission to help inspire and encourage women on a budget everywhere. She is proof that style is not just something you are born with, but that it can be learned. Over the past 5 years, Jay has used her marketing expertise to navigate and build a brand that has been recognized as one of the top 15 most followed American fashion blogs for the past 3 years. Jay's Everyday Fashion receives more than 1 million unique visitors per year. She also has a dedicated passion for giving back to her local community and global community. Jay is going to share her journey with us of how launching her fashion brand through blogging causes her to relish in her now daily truth of being a full-time entrepreneur that is doing what she loves. Jay, welcome to the Confidence Conversation.
Thanks so much for having me.
This is awesome. So when you chose to become a full-time fashion blogger versus pursuing another 9-to-5 job, what experience or influence assisted you in confidently making that choice?
So that's a great question because I know there are bloggers out there who are taking the leap into becoming full-time, and I'm so proud of the people that have the confidence to do that because that is not my story at all. I don't know that I ever would have had the confidence to do that. I actually lost my job and couldn't find another one. It was kind of the height or the peak of the recession, and there just weren't even jobs out there to apply for in the range of skill that I was looking for. So at that time, I just thought, I have this blog. I've been blogging for a couple of years. It's going really well. And I had a couple of people encourage me to try to make that into a business and look at different ways to monetize it because I had not been doing that. And I was really surprised that within a year, it was just booming and just beyond my wildest expectations of how quickly it turned into a business and how it was even possible to do that. So I kind of joked that I was just put in a position where I made lemonade out of lemons and turned that, sort of a down point into, my career that I love to have now.
That's awesome. I really enjoyed watching your IZEA video.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
It was really fun to do.
They're an amazing company.
Really fun. They are. And it was a great camper crew. I mean, they were so talented. I loved how it came out. It was really fun to kind of show people around and into my world a little bit, a little sneak peek.
Yes. I met some members of the IZEA team at Florida BlogCon last year, and I just loved how they were very engaging. Didn't matter who you were, where you were a blogger, and they love bloggers, and they took the time to just speak with everyone, interact with everyone, and just educate different people on their process and show a sincere interest in the bloggers that showed interest in them. So, and just to see their work and how they did your video, just like you said, behind the scenes, it just made me feel like I knew you, like you were my old friend and I was just catching up on, on your life.
I love it. I always say they are great advocates for bloggers. I think that's pretty much sums it up there. Like you said, they'll take the time to talk with you and treat everybody, with respect, and just, they're definitely a great organization to have, and it's cool that it's local too.
Mm-hmm. So Jay, how do you confidently determine and request your worth for your services as a fashion blogger?
That's another great question because that's a question I get asked a lot from other bloggers, is how in the world in this sort of new industry we have in advertising, how do we determine what our rates are? And it really is difficult, and I think there's a lot of different ways to approach it. You can look at it from like a strictly CPM standpoint, which is the industry standard of $1 per 1,000 impressions is like, kind of like a nitty-gritty starting point. I also think that the really unscientific way to look at it is if you have 100% of people saying yes, and no one's saying, no, you're not charging enough. You should be getting way more no's than you should be yeses. And then I actually have raised my rates over the years as I've gotten in this situation. So if I feel like I have way too many people saying yes, I will, at that point, that's when I raise my rates. Super unscientific, but it works, and it helps you, figure out what you're worth and who you really want to work with. And that's one of the ways to look at it. Then from there, you could do things like thinking about your hourly rate. Maybe if one thing that you're doing for a company takes you 10 hours to complete, and another thing only takes an hour, and you realize you're charging the same, you can, adjust accordingly and say, hey, that really takes a long time when I do X, Y, and Z. And when a company requests that, and you can kind of change the rate depending on that, too.
I love that you shared that information. And I've heard you mention that before, like when I heard you speak in January when you received the Blog of the Year award at the event for Gotta Get Blogging. It was one of the Gotta Get Blogging events. You mentioned that as well. Like if people are paying you freely, then it's time to up the ante.
It is. And actually, a fourth way that I just remembered, I was trying to think, I'm like, what is the last one I want to mention? And of course, it just popped in my head, is if you're doing any kind of affiliate marketing, I do a lot with ShopStyle, which is basically a pay-per-click affiliate link. So it's not commission-based, but it shows me the traffic. Basically, if I pay attention to that, then I can see how much people are engaged by just looking at the dashboard of my affiliate links. And if I know I'm earning X amount per day from just doing that, then that can help me, feel confident asking for a certain amount from a company because I know how well it does because I can see it every day, if that makes sense. So kind of having your own case study and being, well-versed on how things go just on these automatic programs that don't require, negotiating with a company, you're going to feel really confident coming to the table when you can see, what's performing and how well it's doing every day.
I like that. Another thing that I like is that how you've incorporated Stella and Dot into your brand.
Yes, I'm actually a stylist with them. It's a multi-level marketing company, so it works the same way, Mary Kay or Tupperware does. And I joined like 4 years ago, right when I first started blogging. And it was just because I just loved the product so much, and that love has grown, honestly, as they've gotten even better, both in quality and in the designs they come up with. But it's interesting because it just so seamlessly flows into what I'm already doing with the blog. And that's one of the pieces of advice I give bloggers, too, is to think of a multi-level marketing, piece that they can add to the blog, whether it's joining, a fitness-based brand, and they're, using their blog kind of in conjunction with that, or, a makeup company or whatever makes the most sense for you. But there's some great products out there, and if you really love it as much as I do sell and Dot, and I really don't sell it hard by any means, like I'm really not salesy with it, but I just love it a lot, and I think that comes through, and people certainly respond to that, and I've seen some successes. I love their stuff, so yeah.
And it complements your brand so well because you're focused like the woman on a budget, so it just complements that extremely well. So excellent. Who or what inspires your fashion style and choices?
I find inspiration everywhere. I'll be looking at something in nature or a street sign or a mural or pretty much anything. I try to snap pictures when I'm inspired and organize them and use them later to create outfits. The inspiration photos I use most often tend to be catalog photos for whatever reason, like from a store, a retail site. If they email out some images like in their emails every day, I tend to get a lot of inspiration from there, and then sometimes what celebrities are wearing. I joke that celebrities at the airport is like one of the best sources of inspiration because they're dressed down and kind of in more clothes that we would wear every day, and so I love seeing those outfits especially. But really, you can get inspiration just about anywhere. Mannequins at stores, somebody walking down the street,
Just be on the lookout.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Jay, I hear that the book, The War of Art by Steven Pressfield is one of your favorites. So how has that book impacted your career confidence?
That book is my absolute favorite. I pretty much can't get through giving a blog talk without mentioning it because I love it so much. It actually has been a couple years since I read it. I need to get that out and read it again. But I would say it changed everything for me because that specific book by him talks about the creative process, and he almost describes it like a battle that you go through. It calls it the resistance. You have to fight the resistance every day, and that means a million things being thrown at you that keep you from creating whatever it is that you create. He's a screenwriter, and I'm making these photos for my blog, basically, or coming up with this creative content. And he just does such a great job of putting a spin on that idea that it's so hard to sit down and create, but it's so important, and just kind of talks through the creative process that has just been huge for me. Especially coming from being the type of person that really didn't think I was creative, and then now doing a job that is almost all creative. And that book just really helped me be comfortable with that journey and just sort of see it in a different way. So I really like that book. Anybody that's in a creative job or role at all would definitely benefit from it. And it's a short read too.
I thank you for sharing that, because in learning more about you, you were once like corporate marketing professional, and now you're more into like the creative process as a blogger. What was that transition like for you?
That transition is very interesting. I really had this mentality that I was all, analytics and organization, and I just had to learn to completely embrace being a creative person that really likes chaos in some ways. Like, it's really interesting, like, how much just relabeling myself has, like, opened up my mind to all these new things. And another thing that was hugely influential, anybody that's, sort of struggling with the creative process like I was, Elizabeth Gilbert's TED Talk on being creative was amazing, and I found that kind of early in blogging, and that was really helpful. She talks about all kinds of stuff with the creative process. So it's been a learning experience. I think I still am learning to be comfortable with that. I definitely have a side to me that still loves marketing, still loves being, organized and things like that. But I definitely am much more of a creative type now and can embrace that and, go with it. So
I love TED Talks.
They are so good. What did we do before them? I don't know.
I don't know either. So you have mastered having your blog generate multiple streams of income for you. How do you determine which income streams best complements your blog that you maintain with ease?
So when I first started monetizing my blog, I really sat down and I started, Googling different ways to monetize a blog, and I sort of signed up for everything I could get my hands on. I mean, just tons of different commission-based programs like Commission Junction and Amazon Associates and any agencies like Isaiah that I could find. I just signed up for tons and tons of stuff all at the same time. And then I sort of just kept an eye on like what's really working. And over, the course of a year, by the end of the year, I was really sticking to like two main ways of monetizing because those were the ones that were really working and that I really liked and that I enjoyed and felt like I could keep up with. So I really think don't be afraid to try anything once, and then, just keep an eye out for what works for you and what's your sweet spot, and then focus on that and getting better at using those tools.
Thank you for sharing that advice. That's great advice. Jay, you have a heart for people. Your desire to help others confidently dress for their best has turned into a lifestyle for you. That also includes you participating in local and global community service activities. When was the desire birthed within your spirit?
I think that has always been the foundation of Jay's Everyday Fashion from day one. The inspiration behind it was I was reading all kinds of fashion magazines and I heard about blogging. I learned about this new thing called blogging. And I thought, this is such an incredible opportunity to have, the ability to talk about fashion from just your average person off the street, meaning me, my perspective, and just what it's like to really get dressed every day. You put on your pants one leg at a time, like that kind of, nitty gritty. What is it really like to get dressed versus kind of the fancy fashion that we see in magazines? But it's so inspirational and that I love so much. But I just wanted this like really down to earth, type of fashion journalism. So when I first started, I think I kind of imagined me at 19 as my audience. Like, I was thinking, I wish I had this when I was sort of learning to dress myself for the first time. And so I was sort of picturing it that way, but it so quickly turned into, this is amazing, and there's other women that appreciate this information just like I would have when I was 19. Mm-hmm. No matter what age they are, that I just started hearing from people and talking to them and hearing their stories. And I even did personal shopping for a little while for free with women, and like getting to know their stories like on that level was just so inspiring that within like a couple months, I was like, this is for the girls out there. You know what I mean? This is for all the women out there that are just like me and wake up and go, what the heck am I going to wear today? Like, it's a question we can't avoid. And it really is one that's fun sometimes, but it's a chore a lot of the times. And coming at it from that perspective and trying to be as helpful as possible, putting out outfit ideas, things under $100, like whatever I can do to make that journey easier for other people is always the goal, and pretty much has been since the start. So I always, blog with that in mind and try to be as helpful as possible, hopefully. I love getting little notes where people are like, this helped. I'm like, yes.
It's like, high five. Thanks, Jay. High five. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to share with you that I found very attractive and very personal about your blog is how you shared your mission trip to Africa.
Yes. Yeah, and we just shared our recent trip to Haiti, too, like just a couple months ago. It was like a mission trip, but for business, if that makes sense, and like helping the Haitian economy, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. So definitely, I mean, I mentioned earlier, like, I'm always blogging to help people with their outfits, but sometimes it becomes a little bit more of a lifestyle blog where I blogged about our wedding, for example, and just like fun little tidbits of life here and there. Because it's, I am talking about fashion all day, every day, but I want to, insert some of my personality in the things that I love too. I know I've had, there's an occasional person that comes to the blog and they're like, all you think and talk about is fashion. And I'm like, that's really funny because I don't. Like, I shop like maybe once a month and I'm really like not that into it, but that's why I blog about it, if that makes any sense. It's very like almost backwards way of thinking about it. But, so, I want people to know, like, there's definitely more to it than just, always talking about fashion every day and stuff like that. So I like to share those experiences from time to time.
You do a great job.
It was life-changing. Thank you.
You do. I enjoyed your honeymoon pictures in Alaska. That's on my bucket list. And I loved it. I loved your pictures and I loved your candidness in your blog posts and everything. I thought it was very personal and it helped connect with you even more, I think.
Great. I love hearing that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Jay, your site is full of what you call outfit recipes. And I love that concept. So please tell me more about it.
So I love using food terms for some reason to talk about fashion. I do it a lot. So I call the outfits I come up with outfit recipes because I want you to make them at home yourself. Sometimes there's this idea that we shouldn't copy what we see, but I really try to, make it, I'm recreating, outfits that I see, and I want to encourage you guys to do the same. So calling them recipes, that's what we do. We copy recipes all the time. Like, it's a thing we share, and I want to kind of bring that feeling to fashion, that we can all be welcome to share outfit ideas with each other. I also have called myself for years the Rachael Ray of fashion was my, 3-word elevator pitch.
I love it.
Because she's what I really wanted to be, like that sweet spot of she's super approachable, down to earth, budget friendly. If you need help making dinner tonight, that's who you're going to go to. Again, like that nitty gritty, really just getting dressed and not like the fantasy fashion or like the fantasy food, but the real life stuff. And she does not have a professional background in food, and it's the same with me with fashion, and that's where I'm coming from as an everyday person, as the title tells you. It's just somebody who's here talking about fashion, an everyday person. And so those food metaphors, I can talk food metaphors all day long, I think. It's kind of silly, but
No, I don't think so, because I think a lot of people, not everyone, thinks in metaphors, but it's always like quick ways to remember. Like people remember phone numbers. For some people it's easier to remember double digits versus if you say 619, they'll say 619, or different things like that. So I think it's great that you think like that, because it's something that someone will remember when shopping or looking for something. Like Jay said this, like an outfit recipe, so they might not necessarily remember the exact outfit, but I know me personally, I'm like, okay, recipe, I'm mixing it together. What do I need to make sure I shine and look amazingly Michelle? So what are a few of your habits of success?
Habits of success. I would say one right off the bat is, I think the method's called stacking. So I try to do activities of the same sort on the same days. And I've talked about this from the beginning on my blog, but I try to take all the pictures for the week or for a few days at a time at one time. So you're ready, you're in a creative mood. I get really into a brainstorming session, and then I kind of take all the pictures for the day, and then I might do all my meetings on one day, things like that. Like trying to just group things together can really save time. I love doing stuff like that. Even if it's on the same side of town and you need to go over there and you stack some things together. It's such factors for success is such a broad topic, which part of success, and not everyone defines success the same way too.
No, they don't, but I just want to know what Jay's habits of success are, because what works for you might not work for me, but I think that there are a few listeners out there that, one, aim to be bloggers, two, love fashion, and they want to have personal styling businesses. They want to have a fashion blog. They want to start a blog. You have other things that you do, like you do style seminars, you do hosting, you've been a spokesperson for different brands, international brands at that. So you just never know what success habits you picked up along the way that has just continued to make you be able to perform well in what you do.
Sure. I will say in terms of blogging, that consistency is a huge key. And I know I have been tempted to skip days or weeks, and it might seem silly, you can skip a day of blogging. Well, of course, the world's not going to end, and if you really need to, you can skip it. But there's so much to be said for treating it seriously enough that you're really doing it every day that you've said you're going to blog. So not missing out on days here and there and really treating it professionally, I think really shows up both to the people reading and then to any companies that are looking to partner with you. Because kind of the other half of that is that, especially now, the big opportunities I get with those large companies, all of them have come to me. So I get an email or a phone call, and they'll say, we want to work with you. And it's that simple. I actually remember I was talking to one of the companies I partnered with recently, and I'm on the phone with them, and I start to kind of sell them on what I can do. And they were just like, oh, no, you're already hired. We looked at your blog. We're ready to go. We already have it, the contract, we're ready to work together. And I find that over and over again that companies, they can already see what you're doing. Your blog is your portfolio, and it's your resume every day. And if you're doing a good job and you're showing up, then that totally shines through. And that's where, it can feel slow. Sometimes they're nobody's really listening, or if I really skip this day, it's not a big deal. But I think treating it that seriously really does wind up paying off in the long run in a big way.
That is an awesome share.
Good.
It is.
I'm glad.
That is awesome.
Because I know I want to skip all the time.
No.
And when I do want to, sometimes I ask myself, because I'm such a, creative hippie, now I'll be what do I feel today? Blogging. Why am I resisting blogging? And then I'll be well, I really want to talk about pineapples. I kid you not. This is what happened when I put my last post, which was yesterday, Saturday morning. I'm what do I want to talk about? I really just want to talk about pineapples. So I made a post about pineapples. And then that resistance to do a post went away because I was excited about it. It was,
right.
I had to just ask myself, why are you, resisting this? And then finding something you're excited to talk about, which people are going to like better anyways than you trying to force it. So it can just be a matter of figuring out something else to talk about. But consistency is huge.
Yes, and it got you to get creative too, so that's even better.
It did. It did.
That's cool. So what do you like to do for fun?
Oh my gosh. I love being outside. I love wildlife. And my husband and I are big into like any water sports, canoeing, fishing, kayaking, snorkeling, totally where I want to be anytime that I have time off. That's the number one. And then I would say also, I love my friends. I'm sure everybody loves their friends, but I just love hanging out with my friends and spending quality time with them. I love going to our church and hanging out with our church family, and spending time with my husband's family who are here locally. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's about all the free time I have enough for is is just a little outdoor time and a little friend time. And that's about it. So
sounds like time well spent.
Yeah.
It's always good to be around people that love you, understand you, and encourage you, and vice versa.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I think that's amazingly wonderful. So, Jay, what advice do you wish you had received 5 years ago that you didn't get?
That's so hard. And actually, in all honesty, it was probably more like, what advice did you get 5 years ago that you stubbornly didn't listen to and wish you
Yes, that's even better.
Probably be more, because that sounds more like me. My husband always jokes, like, he'll tell me some advice, and then, like, a year later, I'll be like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and he just looks at me and is like, I told you that a year ago. He's like, what's the resistance? It's like trying these ideas. I'm like, I don't know, it takes me a while to come around, but I think, it's hard because in some ways I would not change a single step of this journey. I really wouldn't. Even things like when I first heard your question, I thought, well, I should have monetized earlier because I was doing things the exact same way, but I wasn't using any affiliate links. And the first couple of years, there's like, I could have been getting paid then. And in some ways, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so silly. Why didn't I start sooner? But then in some ways, I would never change that for the world because it was so important to me to be doing it for the mission. Like, this is such a mission-based project for me and such a passion project that I'm kind of glad that there wasn't any money connected to it so that I could really just spend that time, in it, drilled down and just loving it and learning all these stories from women and really getting immersed in it before I kind of opened up for business, if that makes sense. So in some ways I'm like, I wish I would have. And then I'm like, no, I think it was great the way it was. It's been, building a business for 5 years has incredible challenges. It's had incredible highs, incredible lows. And I don't know, that's tough because I wouldn't change a day of it. I really wouldn't. Even the really hard parts, I think it all unfolded the way it should have. So
you count it all joy, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Very cool. Jay, I appreciate you joining the Confidence Conversation. Thank you so very much. I appreciate your time. And I just want to end this episode of the Confidence Conversation with this affirmation. I confidently give myself permission to explore and determine what's my fashion best. I'm worthy.
I love it.
Oh, thank you.
I was saying it with you in my head.
I love that. Thank you. But it's true. I think sometimes people have to give themselves permission to dress better.
Oh, absolutely. I struggle with that. I came from a background where I was not allowed to spend any money on clothes and almost grew up thinking it was kind of a bad thing to pay attention to that. So I struggle with that every single time I go to buy something or get dressed. Like, I have to kind of talk myself into, I would say that affirmation, basically. So,
because you want to look amazing and you want to feel good. I mean, they tell you that dress confidently, look confidently, but you got to give yourself permission to do it.
You do, absolutely. After I, sort of became a young adult and had enough experiences, like, I missed out on getting a job out of college because I was not dressed appropriately. I don't know that for sure, but I'm like 99% sure. And I figured that out, and I didn't blame them at all. I'm thinking, you know what? They're right. Like, I should be not so frugal and really go out and wear a suit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, of course that was inappropriate. And I should not, look at this as such a bad thing. Like, getting dressed really does make a big difference. And, I think it's an interesting thing. A lot of women struggle with that, though. It's this kind of guilt with their mom. They think they shouldn't spend any time on it. But that's one of the best examples you can set for your kids is, like, feeling great about yourself. Whatever that means you're wearing, that's up to you. But just, looking good, feeling good, it just does good things for everybody all around. It's all good.
It is good. I always tell myself and anyone else, and you see them struggling, like, turn the light switch of worthy on, turn it on, go ahead, shine it on you.
I love that. Yes, absolutely.
You can shine bright. I'm a huge advocate of being, a cheerleader of other people, celebrating other people, but it's okay. You're worthy of that same cheer and same light being on you just for being who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yes, turn on the light. Turn on the light. Okay, Jay, so share how listeners can get in touch with you.
You can find me on my website, which is Jay's Everyday Fashion. It's jseverydayfashion.com. And it's the same on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. They're all the same, JS Everyday Fashion.
So, and you can find me, Michelle Beatty, at careertipper.com and on Instagram at careertipper. Listeners, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Confidence Conversation. We are grateful for our listeners and guests. For more career confidence motivation, resources, and to share your comments and feedback about this episode and share future guest suggestions, visit careertipper.com. Until next time, be career confident.